When something like this happens, I just... Let's talk about inclusivity and diversity. This is something that people preached for years and years constantly, but they don't even get what they're actually talking about. I'm gonna show you guys two examples. A video game by the name of 2064 Read-Only Memory has a game developer who uttered things like this on Twitter. If you voted for Trump or support his fascist regime, please don't play our game, just go fuck off. Wow. You can't even spell fascist right. This isn't even the first time people don't spell fascist right protesting against Trump. Here's a footage from an event by Milo Yiannopoulos, a Trump supporter.
Wait a minute, wait.
Wow, just freaking brilliant. So someone asked the question to the game developer, wouldn't those people have the most to learn from the themes in the game? Well, that is indeed a good point. If you want a more inclusive game, showing this to what you consider to be a racist, sexist, misogynistic, homophobic Trump voters would probably change their mind, right? Nope. We definitely wanted to make a subversive game and introduce people to queer themes, for sure, but maybe that was naive. The time for peaceful asking for inches is over. It's war now. And that definitely excuses kicking out the Trump supporters who play your games. Wow. I'm not even a Trump supporter, but if I see a game developer do this while preaching for inclusivity and introducing people to queer themes and making games welcoming to people, I would not buy their game. This is definitely not a welcoming act at all. Inclusivity. You can't even be inclusive in your own game. How are you going to be more inclusive in America by kicking out those Trump voters? That'll show them. So, can I ask you guys, for those of you who are preaching for diversity, what good will happen if you kick the majority out? I thought the point of this exercise is you need to add more people in and not kick them out. If you're kicking more people out, then you're not making things more diverse. You're making this space more divisive. In a moment where freaking Naru Trump is the president, there is going to be lots and lots of division. And the people who are creating the division are the people who say that Trump and his supporters are creating more and more division. Isn't that right, Shia LaBeouf? Now, do you want to know the secret for diversity and more inclusivity in a certain space? It's actually very simple. You guys don't need to go anywhere. You want more inclusivity and diversity in gaming or comic books or insert gaming geek space here? Well, can you guys figure out why an Indonesian is talking to you guys right in front of your faces? Can you figure out why this person over here on this video is talking about video games and animes and comic books to many different types of people from so many different countries and so many different paths of life? Well, here in Indonesia, we have a principle called Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, which translates to unity in diversity. This is a principle being taught ever since kindergarten, which means that regardless of our race or ethnicities or religion, there's one thing that makes us common. We're all Indonesians. I can apply that same principle. We all have our differences and our complexities, but the one thing that unites us all together is the fact that we love video games. So if you want to bring more people into video games, focus on the games. Make good games. Make more accessible games. And most importantly, make people interested in games. If they are not, you don't have to force them. And if they're not, you also don't have to kick the people who are already in it just because you don't like them. And believe it or not, I don't care if you're a feminist or a Nazi or someone with a weird baby diaper fetish. I don't care if you're on the right or in the left. As long as we love video games, as long as we want to talk about video games, as long as you want to play games, we are cool. However, the mindset of the people we have right now is not on that. The mindset stays on their political beliefs. The one thing that we should ignore and put aside when talking about video games, they want to focus on it. They want to focus on the things that will divide us. This shows to me that you don't care about games. You only care about politics. You don't care about discussing politics. No, you care about winning politics. You care about beating your opponents in politics. When video games can unite people with differences of opinions together by the fact that they enjoy video games, you want to divide them away from the things that unite them in the first place. You're preaching for diversity and inclusivity, and yet the only thing that I see from you is kicking and condemning people out for a few arbitrary characteristics. And that, in my mind, is despicable. You're gonna purposefully divide people inside a space when they can have something in common. We all love video games, but oh my god, you're a Trump voter, get out. What inclusivity are you going to preach if this is the sort of actions that you're pulling? If you're preaching for inclusivity, you also need to include the people that you don't like. If you don't like gamers to be inside your gaming space and you want to kick them out because you don't like it, well, expect us to say the same thing back. People with various different political alignments are welcome in the gaming space. The only people who are not welcome are those that want to kick other people out, especially when they're preaching for inclusivity, diversity. All of this are completely counterproductive of the things that you're preaching out. So please, stop. If you're really preaching out for this inclusivity, it's kind of like freedom of speech. You also need to apply it to the things that you don't like. Again, in video games, we don't care about your political alignments. We don't care about your race, your gender, your religion, or ethnicity. We don't care. All we care about is the fact that you love games. And these people want to focus on the things that divide us. They want to focus on the things that we have differences on, even though we should put them all aside when we're talking about games, when we're talking about the things that we love, when we're talking about the things that unite us in the first place. Oh, and it's rather interesting on the fact that, according to Waifu Hunter, this game is a doll of cancer, furries, and Tumblr. Play this if you hate good writing, low functional game design, and want to get AIDS. This Steam curator managed to trigger a Kotaku writer that ends up writing an entire article of how Steam curators are problematic. Wow. And now, we get into Bob Chipman. Oh, Bob Chipman. This is the guy who actually said this without irony. I absolutely believe, from evidence, that I am probably smarter than most of the US, and that's terrifying because I'm not that smart. Wow. Wow, we're dealing with an arrogant jackass here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just get to the video talking about the diversity of Marvel Comics. I think I have talked about this in another video that blew off for some reason, but we're gonna get to this video in particular. Now, for those of you who are unaware, Marvel has been doing this incredibly stupid moves for the past couple of years, which is comics trying to include more and more diverse things. I went through several of these cringy pages in my last video. I went through a page of Wasp that almost made me want to kill myself live on stream.
You girls need to get out of here before you get hurt. That woman is a legit mad scientist. That's perfect. I'm a happy scientist. Who better to fight her? It's like Harry Potter. What? What is with these people and Harry Potter? I don't get it. I don't get it. I've heard people complaining and connecting like Donald Trump and freaking complaining about political stuff and try to give metaphors, and it's always Harry Potter. It's always a Harry Potter metaphor. And now they have to reference Harry Potter. Just, what's a Harry Potter? What's a Harry Potter? Okay, previous page. I read it. It was really good. I have a fanfic like that. Next page. What's a Harry Potter? Have you ever seen a freaking... Do you know that Harry Potter is like the biggest freaking fandom to have a goddamn fanfiction, and you're like, what's a Harry Potter? Shut up. Listen, yes, Harry Potter is great. We can talk about that later. Move on, please! Oh my god! You went 2 panels out just to talk about goddamn fanfiction, you... Miss Marvel, you go for the legs, and I'll get to the cup. Just now you talk about the plan to take down a robot!
This is to the point where the sales on September 2016, Marvel was just utterly demolished by DC, where only 10 of the comics are in the top 50 and only one on the top 10. That is incredible, Marvel. How can you even pull off this monstrous thing? This video is right down below or on the right or on the end of this video. I recommend you guys to check it out for more details. And now we have Bob Chipman trying to explain why Marvel is doing all these things. What do you have to say on this, Bob?
So, some context for those of you who don't follow the week-to-week goings-on in the world of the mainstream Big Two superhero comics publishers, aka a sizable majority of the world, but...
Oh my god. The thing about Bob Chipman is that his videos are manipulative as hell. There's a very good reason that he puts this video in a speed this insane. I go into my points about as slow as crystal clear as possible because I want my viewers to actually get what I'm trying to say. But Bob Chipman doesn't do that. He does the Onision trick of speeding up their points so that people can miss the things that he's actually trying to say. Bob, this sort of format only leaves your viewers incredibly dazzled. Are you trying to be Yahtzee? Yeah, you once worked in Escapist, so yes, you're trying to be Yahtzee, but you're not even a quarter level coherent. I'll try to slow it down to you guys so that you can understand it.
So, some context for those of you who don't follow the week-to-week goings-on in the world of the mainstream Big Two superhero comics publishers, aka a sizable majority of the world, but probably not the majority of people who watch this show. See, for much of the last decade, with a fairly recent acceleration, Marvel Comics has been undertaking a long-term upending of many traditional flagship characters previously incarnated as white men into new identities as not necessarily white men.
Yes, they are replaced, and Bob, guess what? This is what kills the sale of Marvel Comics in the first place. Comics Explains did a magnificent video talking about the diversity of comics. One of his points is that the low sales of Marvel Comics can be explained based on the fact that the old characters that people love are replaced with characters that people do not love. He also brings up a good point, like, what's the point of replacing old characters with a new one when you can have both on the same universe? Jaime Reyes doesn't really have to replace Ted Kord. The Scarab didn't fit with Ted Kord in the first place, but it goes to Jaime instead. That and Kord died in the comics continuity at the time, so it has to go to a different mantle. But at least Jaime Reyes was just one legacy character being replaced. This is happening simultaneously to a lot of characters in Marvel, and Bob Chipman is gonna illustrate them all.
In no particular order, this roster has included but is not limited to a young female Wolverine, a Pakistani Muslim Ms. Marvel, a Korean Hulk, Gwen Stacy if she was a superhero instead of a Mata, Gwen Stacy if she was Deadpool for some reason, a Latin American Miss America, a female Thor, an Asian female Iron Patriot, a black female Iron Man, female Captain Marvel, black female Captain America, who's also the time-traveling daughter of Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, alternate universe female Bucky Barnes, possibly the de facto grandfather of the whole movement Miles Morales, aka the half-black, half-Latino Ultimate Spider-Man. A shitload of these characters are also themselves somewhere on the LGBTQ spectrum, and that's just super.
There we go, Bob. Thanks for illustrating them. The only problem is, why do it to not only just one, but many already established characters? Why kick the already established characters out in favor of new one in this ridiculous number and this oddly, ridiculously diverse? Also, none of them are actually straight white men. So you're opt on kicking everybody out for the sake of diversity, and you just fully admitted it on the intro.
Some of the books that have spun out of this initiative have been good, some of them have not. Some of the characters have become popular, some of them have not. But all of them have managed to piss off a vocal contingent of whiny entitled fanboys who, along with
entitled fanboys. I love the fact that he puts the word entitled in it. Well, the sales have spoken, Bob. These entitled comic book fanboys are not gonna buy your comics, no matter how much insults that you're gonna pull off with them. They're paying money for your comics. They are entitled based on that fact. You're supposed to deliver a quality product, but you didn't do it. And the best thing that they can do is just to say, oh, they're just entitled. They're just whiny man babies.
Whiny entitled fanboys who, along with managing to drown out any reasonable criticism, especially don't like that many Marvel writers have opted to make fun of them within the pages of the comics themselves.
Oh, that marvelous female Thor page that makes fun of its audiences. Okay, all of you guys, let's just pretend that you're not a hater of female Thor. You're just an outsider passing by. Let's get through these pages, shall we? Thor? Are you kidding me? I'm supposed to call you Thor? Damn, feminists are ruining everything! This is quality writing from Marvel, ladies and gentlemen. We're not done yet. We're not done yet. We still have more.
This ain't how it's supposed to work. What the hell kind of Thor are you? The kind of Thor who just broke your jaw. Bam! That's for saying feminist is like a 4-letter word, creep. And also for the robbing.
Wow. So this female Thor finds more importance on the fact that this guy insulted feminism than the fact that this guy committed robbery. Even as an outsider just looking in, what the hell kind of nonsense is this? Oh, and let's not forget about this.
Actually, it's about ethics and hammer wielding.
Yes, that is a reference to Gamergate, and yes, that's actually real.
Amusingly, the response to much of this has been for said fanboys to pay obsessive attention to Marvel Comics sales figures and post rambling screeds about how correct they've been proven every time said sales drop, or fail to rise, or look, the data kinda ends up meaning whatever they say it means, so whatever.
Facts and data, what's that? Here's the sales from September 2016 at the peak of when they're doing all of those things. And it's embarrassing. It's just embarrassing. Just look at that.
Now, in and of themselves, comic book sales figures are not an interesting story because it largely doesn't matter at this point. Marvel and DC are making more money than the gross domestic product of some small countries, and probably a couple of largish ones in the not too far off future, off of whatever their next respective movie is, even if nobody actually likes it.
No, Bob. Sales matter because they represent interest on the comics. Christ, how can you even dismiss this important data? Okay. So at this point, Bob goes on a tangent on answering the question why Marvel does this whole diversity thing, and also addressing why he doesn't care about the sales of the comics. Well, I'm gonna sum it up in a few sentences because he does this in 5 minutes straight, and I cannot chop every point off because that would be missing his entire point. Basically, his main point here is that the reason why Marvel does all of the diverse characters mentioned previously is because they were used as some form of a beta tester for Marvel in order to be brought into a more marketable medium, like movies. Okay, Bob, let's just for the sake of argument, assume that that is indeed what Marvel is trying to do. That doesn't answer ask me about my feminist agenda. That doesn't answer feminist Thor. That doesn't answer unsolicited opinions on Israel. That doesn't answer progressive school feminists. That doesn't answer villain Donald Trump. That doesn't answer Red Skull speech. That doesn't answer Justin Trudeau in Civil War II. That doesn't answer only men can be superheroes. That doesn't answer this speech bubble error. That doesn't answer I read your fanfiction and it's great. That doesn't answer oh my god patriarchy conspiracy on S.H.I.E.L.D. That doesn't answer evolution is not a theory. That doesn't answer oh Jesus Christ, I cannot believe I'm reading on this. Nation Stop Being Sexist starts talking about tampons. Do you want me to go on? I can. In my mind's block down below, you'll see nothing but pure Marvel cringe. You'll see cringe after cringe after cringe, all from your beloved company Marvel. Do you get the point right now? Do you get what I'm trying to say here, Bob? Marvel has successfully divided their audiences thanks to putting all of these absolutely nonsensical, absolutely unnecessary political comments. This has nothing to do with beta testing. This has something to do with a company's comic book industry being hijacked by ideologues from Tumblr who thinks that fanfiction and good can be put on the same sentence. So, there you have it. You have Movie Bob calling people entitled fanboys and dismissing data and saying that they're not relevant because all this time, Marvel is just beta testing characters for the movies, guys. That's why the comics are irrelevant. He didn't even address some of the things that the comics are actually saying. Just to put this in conclusion, this sort of thing will never create an inclusive and welcoming space for people who are into comic books. The reason why people are going outside of comic books is so that they can escape from this in the first place. Marvel is supposed to be neutral. Marvel is supposed to tell the audiences to put all the differences aside. Put your race, gender, religion, ethnicity, all of those aside, and just enjoy comic books. However, with the state of comic books right now, they cannot create this inclusive space. They create division. They have successfully done that with the sales, completely splitting everybody up. Yes, the sales number back up again for Marvel, and that's good for them. But it still doesn't dismiss the fact that the writing and the comics are written in a very divisive manner. Comic books may not be relevant, but there are still those that enjoy those hobbies. And to those that enjoy those hobbies, I'm saddened to hear that your hobby have to be torn into pieces by these people. Maybe we should start a movement in making comic books great again by making our own comic books and spawn our own superhero lineups. Let's give a competition to DC and Marvel. It's gonna be tough, but there's nothing stopping you guys from trying. That's all for the video today. If you like this, you can go ahead and click like button and subscribe for more. If you wish, you can support me at Patreon. And thanks for watching.